everybody, welcome to This Board Game Life, episode number 85, titled, I Can't Do That, Dave. This is a show about movie references, apparently, games, board games, tabletop games, card games, anything we want to talk about from games and not games, I guess. I am one of your fine hosts for today. My name is Rob, and with me, as always, I got my good buddy, Mark.
Also known as Mark.
Yes.
What's up, Rob? Good to see you, buddy.
I think you're in this direction, or are you in that direction? I don't know how it's going to finally show up on the thing, but yeah, we are able to see each other.
Oh yeah, you're over here.
No, yeah, on my screen you're
on
not.
My side,
there.
you're here.
unless you have your stuff flipped.
I do not mirror my camera because then all the stuff behind me is backwards.
Yeah,
so I don't
annoying.
Mirror it. Yeah. Which means, like, I'm pointing here because you're here, but really you're not. You're over here, which is opposite of what I'm actually seeing.
So
that makes no sense to our podcast listeners.
Exactly. But yes, we are back on video. It's been a couple of years since we did video. So we are experimenting with that again. And I don't think it's a trial experimentation. I think it's a from here on out experimentation. So hopefully everything goes so far so good today. And, hopefully we don't have like a huge decline in listeners once they see us. or maybe we'll be booming after that. So anyway, yeah. So starting with this episode number 85, we are now on video as well as our normal audio format podcast. So the video is going to be on YouTube, right? On the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And then is that going to be on our webpage, on our website too? I don't know.
That'll be up to you.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Actually, no, if it goes on YouTube, it's also going to be on our website. So you will have so many ways to consume the podcast. It is up to you, and hopefully you don't get analysis paralysis trying to figure out which version to listen to, whether it's the podcast through your podcast program on YouTube or on our website, which you have a couple different versions of, and who knows where else. I'm sure it's in a million other places as well.
I'm working to get us at the end cap of the Walmarts across the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
sounds
right.
good. Sounds good.
Oh, look, this Board Game Life on the end cap at Walmart. How about that?
Yeah, how about that?
We're everywhere.
But yeah, so now we have the video podcast in addition to the audio podcast. And then Mark's been doing a fantastic job with unboxings, playthroughs, and reviews. All three of those are all video, available on our website and on our YouTube channel. Just in case you don't know, it's This Board Game Life is the
.com.
Yeah, and that's our channel there on. Is it a channel? Yeah, it's a channel on YouTube.
Yes, on YouTube, it is a channel.
Yes. There's so many names for stuff, right? There's channels, there's spaces.
We also have a Facebook group.
Yeah, that's true.
We do, which we haven't pimped out yet.
No.
But you can find us under the same name on Facebook, under Facebook groups as well.
Yes.
So I do post the new videos. I post the link to YouTube there on that page as well. And, feel free. We had a really good community on our other show. And in our group, that was a lot of activity going back and forth with the community. So maybe we'll get some activity going in the Facebook group and talking back and forth. So
yeah,
that was always fun.
Yeah, and we need to figure out where we're going to concentrate everything because, sometimes by having too many options, it's too much like fracturing or, you're spreading yourself too thin across so many places. But
Facebook
works. Because we've got Discord too, and
yeah,
you can leave. Yeah, it's like you can leave comments on our website, and you can email us, and it's a lot of different places. But
just subscribe to the YouTube channel, and comment there. How about that?
Yeah, sounds good.
That'd be the best.
Yes.
Forget the Facebook. You're right. I like it. Just doing it at the YouTube. Keep it simple.
Yeah. Or otherwise, then you need one of those services that just sort of joins everything together into one place. It's like, we can post it everywhere. And then we spend all our time going to 10 different platforms.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's easier. And everyone uses YouTube, so.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're too old to do the TikToks and the what is it, the chat, the snappy chatty thing, and we're not doing all that garbage.
Snapchat.
I don't even tweet, It's like I YouTube all the time. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
actually, that reminds me, we do have Twitter as well.
I don't use it, so
I used to be pretty active on there years ago.
Sorry, X.
And then, yes, now formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah,
or the social media platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, but, I just never used it. I never understood it. I'm like a noob, and I'm too old to understand all the media, the social media stuff. So
yeah,
Facebook and YouTube make sense to me. Nothing else does.
Yeah. So
anyway,
and wherever you're hearing this now, that might be a good place to continue hearing it.
That right? too,
because that works. So great job, Mark, doing those videos that you've been doing. We got, how many do you have up there? Like 6, 7, something like that.
I think that's probably about right.
Yeah.
There's been some, what do you call it? Growing pains.
Of course.
And, but let's see, I have put a total of what? Oh, I think I got more than that. So I did some unboxings. Just a quick kind of recap of what I've done. Some unboxings for Star Trek Star Realms, Survival of the Fattest, Skyrise. Watch that one if you haven't seen it. It's the premium edition of the game. It's gorgeous. I did an unboxing of Tower Up, Worms, the board game, First in Flight, Finca, Hadrian's Wall, and yesterday I just released, under this new format of us switching platforms, I did an unboxing of Plunder, A Pirate's Life. Love that game. I actually did my very first playthrough. I did a solo run of Hadrian's Wall, which is also on there. Now, quick note on the Hadrian's Wall. The video is an hour and a half long, but in an hour and 7 minutes, the wireless mic that I had bought to use, it broke. The receiver actually, I don't know, something happened to the receiver and it stopped working, and I didn't notice it. So the last half hour of that video, there's no audio.
So it turned into a wireless soundless mic.
Exactly. So I had to return it, and then I actually purchased a much better, much more expensive, higher quality mic that I'm using now, and that's much better. So, but just there was that little audio snafu. I thought the mic died. I just thought the battery died, and that was not the case. So the hardware died.
It happens.
Yeah. So those are the things, and I've got some more unboxings planned, definitely over this weekend, and I might try to do another playthrough of something solo, and so we'll see. But yeah, subscribe to This Board Game Life YouTube channel, and you'll know when all those videos go up, and then also send emails to contact@thisboardgamelife.com.
You got to think about it, yeah.
And I want all of you to flood Rob with set up your studio. We want to see you doing reviews and playthroughs and stuff like that. Flood him with it. Demand that he get on it. He wants to do it.
The north, it's not really Northeast campus. It's just, I guess, the East campus.
The Midwest campus.
You're the West campus. Yeah, Northwest campus. But yeah, it's been a while since I did those. There were quite a few that we had posted. Actually, not all on this channel. They were on the store's channel as well. But it'll be cool. It'll be fun to get that stuff rolling again. I know you're having a lot of fun with it, Mark. And,
I'm really enjoying it. So
yeah, no, I get it. I know the draw. It's fun.
All right.
So anyway, you get to move on?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So what have you gotten to the table?
I did get quite a few things. I got a lot of new stuff this last 2 weeks. So I did play Survival of the Fattest again with some friends this week. It has turned out to be it's a game that's cutesy, but it can be cutthroat, and it actually is quite a meaty game that really does require some thought and some planning. And there's more to it than meets the eye when you first play it. And you first look at it, you're like, oh, it's a cute little foresty creature game. And there's every character plays different. There's more to it. And every time I play it, it's like I have more and more fun. And I'm getting like the knowledge, like there's more levels to the game that you get to find as you play. I also mentioned I did a solo run of Hadrian's Wall that I did on screen, and that was really fun. That game is interesting because it's like every time you play, you can play it so differently every time. There's so many options in that flip and right game, and I really do enjoy that a lot. Got to play more Skyrise. This is a very popular one with my game group and one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
So check that out on the YouTubes as well to see my unboxing of that and why this game looks so amazing. And beyond the looks of the game, the table presence, the gameplay itself is fun. It can move. It's a fairly quick game. I think 4 players. I think you can play in about an hour and a half. And I don't know if you maybe think that's a quick game, but for 4 players in an auction game, that's at the long end of it. If you have people that know what they're doing, I'm talking 90 minutes is with the teach, of everybody learning the game. It's, so you're probably less than an hour and a half on a game of Skyrise. Then I got introduced to some new games this week, new to me, Kemet, Blood and Sand. So this game, when I first saw it, one of my game people in the game group of mine posted it in our Discord and said, hey, I'm going to bring this if anyone wants to play. He threw up the video on how to play. So I was looking at it, trying to prepare myself. So I kind of had an idea of how to play before we got to the table. And I was like, I went into it thinking, this doesn't look very interesting to me. And I walked away from it going, man, that was a lot of fun. Kemet, Blood and Sand it's an excellent game. The thing about this game is like, I feel you really have to know all of the power tiles. I don't remember the exact term of what they're called, but there's like these power tiles, I'm going to call them, that you can get. And knowing which ones to get, when to get them, trying to beat others to them, makes it for a very interesting game. You're seeing what kind of power types people are going to go for based on the pyramids they're building. And it really makes it a very interesting game. You're trying to outdo each other and outbeat and guess what someone else is, your neighbor might be trying to go for the same power, or maybe they're not, and then there's the different levels of the powers, So I know, like, I played this not knowing what all those were and still had a good time, but I think the key to this is to really understanding and learning what all of those powers do, and then you can really have a killer good time in this game. So, really neat game.
Mm-hmm.
Finally got to play.
Kemet is a classic.
Yeah, and I can see why. It really is a very interesting game.
Yeah, and
All right.
the original here, I just looked it up. Yeah, it came out about 10 years before Blood and Sand.
And Blood and Sand was
Yeah.
what was that? Just a couple years, like 4 years ago or something?
21.
2021. Okay,
Yeah.
so 3 years ago.
Yeah. My understanding was that what Blood and Sand was kind of like, not a sequel, but kind of just an improved version of it.
Oh, okay.
Of the original.
Could be. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about the original either, so just played this one and it wasn't really
that it's
good.
fun.
It was fun. Enjoyed
and you like it.
I do. I'll probably ask him to bring it again sometime in the future.
You can bring your copy when you order it.
I haven't ordered it. I'm trying to behave. I don't need to buy every game I play. That's because I played one yesterday. I'll talk about in a minute that I'm like, I even looked it up. I was like, no, I can always ask, hey, let's play this again. But I'll get to that one in a minute.
Okay.
So one I've been wanting to play for a very long time, I finally got to the table, was Nemesis Lockdown. And I love Nemesis. I'm waiting for Nemesis Retaliation, which is going to come out next year. I have backed that. I didn't have any Nemesis until someone brought the first game, just called Nemesis, to game night one night. We played it and I fell in love with the game. And at the time, I couldn't find the original game anywhere. It was just like out of print type of thing. And this is a game done by Awakened Realms. Got a lot of miniatures, but it's Alien, the board game. I mean, you couldn't. It is Alien, the board game, with taking all steps, I guess, to not get copyright strike because they're now on their third game of it. So Nemesis Lockdown takes place after the events of the first game, which was on a spaceship. This one takes place, on Mars, and it had some new things like lights and power going out, so you're fighting the aliens in the dark and things like that, which gives them you take more damage when you're in the dark, so you're trying to keep power on in the facility. There's different things that you need to try to do. It does have that whole cooperative until it's not cooperative objectives. You have a corporate objective and a personal objective, and you've got to pick one, and it could be be the only surviving member at the end of the game. So it still has that type of tense action, and it's tough. It's hard. And we played this week. We had 5 people, and 3 of us died. One person completed their goal, got themselves into the isolation chamber, and there was another person who did not complete their goal, but they survived. But they were on the base, but the base survived. There was a final, so you send this signal out, and basically it alerts the company, and the company sends in basically this cleanup crew, and you don't know what this contingency is going to be at the very end of the game. So you could have escaped in an escape pod or a cargo sending system, they call it, but it's like an escape pod, or you could get yourself in the isolation room, or there's one where all survivors get killed. So this guy went in the isolation chamber, and then the contingency at the end of the game was when this crew showed up, they killed everybody in the isolation chamber. So he thought he was safe, and then he died. The guy that didn't get his goal accomplished was the only one that was alive and wasn't killed off. And then even after that, you got to look if you have contamination cards, see if you're infected. And if you're infected, then there's steps you go through to see if you die or you live. And it's just crazy. This game has so many levels of you could be successful in your objectives, you could survive, and you could still die, still lose the game. So Nemesis Lockdown is a fantastic game. It's amazing. Get it if you ever get an opportunity to try it. You must try it. Okay, moving on. I played something called, I'm assuming it's Bullet Heart, because it's bullet and then they have a heart symbol at the end of it. And then there's also one called Bullet, and it has a star symbol at the end of it. So I'm assuming that the name is Bullet Heart and Bullet Star. We played Bullet Heart. It's like this animated kind of Japanese animation type of game, but it's a bag. You're drawing these symbols and chips from this bag, putting them on this board, and I don't even know how to describe it, but you have to, based on the number on the chip you pull out, determines where it goes on the board, and then you have these abilities that you can fire off in the round to remove some of these things. Because if a chip gets, like a poker chip gets to the bottom of the board, then you're taking a shot. It's a bullet, and then you're taking a shot, and you can, if you get hit like 5 times, then you're dead. So you get these points every round, and you're drawing these things out, putting them on your board, and they have to go in certain columns based on the color, and then you have to count like the blank spaces down to the number that's on it. And then so you're also trying to use abilities that you have to try to clear that board out and keep it as empty as possible. And all of this, you got 3 minutes. There's a 3-minute timer.
Okay.
And you have 3 minutes to do this, and that's it. And then anything like left in your bag at that point, at the timer goes, you just have to place. You can't use an ability to clear. You just have to start placing. And if you're taking hits, you're taking hits. So it was like stressful, but it was fun. I really enjoyed that game. Also got to play Root. This is something I have heard about.
It looks like there's there's bullet and then heart symbol, and there's a bullet with a star.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
that's what I was saying. Bullet heart and bullet star.
Yeah. So it is the symbol that's part of the name.
Right. Yeah. Mm. So that's why I'm just calling it bullet heart.
Yeah, because it's that way in BGG too.
Yeah, it has the symbol.
Yeah, it's funny.
So, but interesting game. I did like it. It was something unique, and not a fan of that, that type of art style. Just not an anime person, but the game was a lot of fun. Then on to Root, talking about your cute little woodland creatures that are ferocious and vicious. I did get a chance to play Root, and I played as the cats. And I was like losing pretty badly, and the other 2 people were doing really well. And then near the end, I somehow made a comeback, and I thought I might have had a chance to win, but nope, I did not. And but it was still a fun game. I'm looking forward to playing it again. I really did like the way this game plays, and everyone's doing completely different type of gameplay. And my thoughts were like, how are they able to, and I guess there's like 17 different races or characters or whatever you want to call them, that 17 different types of critters, and it's like they all play different. So how, like, the mad genius that's going on for someone to figure out how all these can come into the game, not break the gameplay of all these various factions, and still keep adding to this. It's impressive. Really, really fun game, and I look forward to playing that again.
Yeah, plus you don't have like one animal that is like ridiculously overpowered, right, compared to something else, and like the intricacies of it's just crazy. It's playtesting, right?
The amount of playtesting that they must be doing on this is insane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of tweaking.
Yes. I got to play another new game for me, is Abyss. And this was, again, one of the gamers in the group said, hey, I can bring these games. And he threw up I looked up some of the how to plays, and Abyss was the one that I was most interested in. And thankfully we did get to play it. This is a really very fun and interesting game. This is the one, it's like, I kind of like, maybe I should buy this. It came out 2014, so it's not new.
No.
But it's absolutely fantastic. And I don't even know how to explain this game. But you have, like, on your turn, you have like 3 options, and you all basically start out by doing I think it's called development, you are, or I don't know. You're trying to get these. What do they call them? Recruits or allies? Yeah, I think you're going to collect allies. So that's you can start collecting allies on your turn. But when you go through the deck, you got to flip a card over. You can't take it. You have to go all the way around the table to see if anybody wants to recruit that particular ally first. And you all have like these pearls. That is your money. That's what you're using to buy these allies. But you are the last one to get a say. So if it's like a high-powered or high-numbered one, it's probably going to go pretty quick. And then, so the first person to buy it pays 1 pearl. Then I flip another one on this row, and it I think you put out 6 or 7 cards before it ends. But then, like, the next one might be a 1. So if nobody wants it, then it comes to me, and I have the option of taking it for free. So it's a benefit. I don't have to pay for it on my turn, but everyone else gets first dibs on everything. So once you have enough allies, and at the end of that, all the allies left in the row, they move into their ally section. It's like the next part of the board, and they get all put into their same colors. And then what'll happen is you can, on your turn, instead of going down that recruiting the allies, you can just take a stack of cards from any one of the allies and add it to your hand. And then the other option then later is once you have enough of these allies in your hand, you spend those cards to get these lords, which have the victory points. So it's almost like you got to go through 3 stages to get the cards that give you points at the end of the game. And then with those, you can actually buy locations, which can give you additional points at the end, but then you got to be careful because some of the lords will give you ongoing powers or abilities. Some are you use the ability as soon as you take the lord. So it's a lot of fun. It was very interesting game. This is one. It's like I think I'm gonna end up buying this one. This is one I kind of want in my collection. Compared to like Kemet, Blood in the Sand, that's one. It's like I don't feel like I need it because I would play it with the group that has it.
Yeah.
Abyss is one I'm like I could play this with others, as well.
Mm-hmm.
It has I can take this with outside of that more hardcore gaming group and play Abyss with others, and then it would behoove me to have the game. So probably going to try to find this one. Hopefully it's not hard. Came out, like I said, 10 years ago.
Yep.
But Abyss, fantastic game.
And one thing about this one is it's got a bunch of different box covers. So it's the same game inside, but there is a series of different box covers. So I don't know, if you get it online, you might just get the luck of the draw.
Oh,
unless they have them spread out by box cover design. But yeah, when you go into the store, then you can get your hot hands on whichever one you want. Although at this point, I don't know how many different versions they'll have in stock.
Yeah, I don't know. So, oof. I see some stuff I see one on here on, I don't know what that is. That's not the board game. That must be an expansion. And it's in a metal tin. Boo! Boo! Go away with that. So I'll have to do some digging, but this one is one I can see getting on my list. And then lastly, I got to play more Clank Catacombs with my group. So we played Abyss and Clank Catacombs last night, and got to introduce two gamers to Clank that haven't played it, and it was great. They really enjoyed it. It was a good time. So, and it's Clank. Of course, it's a good time. So that's it. That's what I got to play.
All right. And so here we'll move on, cover the news real quick before we get on with the main topics. So here, you got most of these. Why don't you do your first two? Then I got mine in the middle.
Okay.
It's like
my first one,
a Rob News sandwich.
Okay. My first one really is not much. It's just, if I love Dice Throne, and Rob knows I buy everything Dice Throne.
Oh yeah.
I have everything. I'm all in on the Kickstarter for the X-Men and I think it's X-Men and Deadpool that should be shipping here, I think in December. Like next month, I think it's about to ship. And then they just released another one called Outcasts. And I'm like, of course, all in on that one. And now they've talked about they're going to launch a Dice Throne digital. And so we're one person away from 5,000. Why am I saying we're one person away? I'm not part of the group. They are one person away from having 5,000 people following this Kickstarter, and it hasn't even started. So you can look for the Dice Throne digital on Kickstarter and hit the notify me on launch and become follower number 5,000. But this and these guys are right out of Washington. I just noticed. I might have to take a road trip and go find their studio and say, "Hey, let me in. I want to see everything."
You're like, I paid for half this building.
That's right. I'm pressed, baby. Let me in.
Yeah.
So I'm all over this. I don't care what it is. I'm buying it.
Insta buy.
It'll be an insta back all the way. Give me everything.
Yeah.
All platforms, give it to me. So just if you're interested in Dice Throne Digital, check out the Kickstarter and click the notify on launch so that you'll know when that goes available. Should be sometime soon. Let's see. My next one, if you are familiar with a game called Point Salad, or maybe you've heard of Point City, well, I got good news for you. Their Flat Out Games is making another point game, and they're giving you a larger playground in Point Galaxy. So this is going to be crowdfunded in early 2025. And basically kind of the quote here from them is you take any 2 cards from the dynamic market, add them to your expanding galaxy. As you place cards, create solar systems by arranging planets in numeric order, and earn bonuses by collecting suns, asteroids, moons, rockets, and research projects to score the most points. The game includes more than 140 unique double-sided planet space cards, so you can create a completely different galaxy each time you play. And I already know I'm going to back this. I didn't get Point City. I don't know. I really love Point Salad. Point City didn't seem as interesting to me, but for some reason, Point Galaxy just sounds awesome. And if I'm getting that one, I'll probably okay, I'll buy Point City too.
Yeah, you're like, I can't have only 2 of the 3.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
I get it. Now, the one nice thing about these, though, is that it is a small form factor box.
Yes.
So you can have all 3 in less than half the size of most games, I would say.
True. Exactly. True. Yeah. So
and then from the same team, they are coming out with another game early next year. I don't think this one's going to be Kickstarter, but it's called Propolis, like the bee thing. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that because I think they're Flat Out is a Flat Out / AEG. They make some good stuff, and I've been impressed with it, and I'm looking forward to their next one here.
I've been impressed with the stuff they make.
Yeah, it's the Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stinkowich combo for games. Oh,
and if you are going to PAX Unplugged here in early December, which I think it's Philadelphia, I believe.
Yeah.
They're going to have both Point Galaxy and Propolis are going to be available for demo at PAX Unplugged this year. So if you're going to be there, you can go check it out. And if you do, take pictures and send them to us and tell us what you think of the games.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, one thing that I was kind of stoked about seeing was one designer that I really enjoy a lot of his games is Freedom on Freeze. So he often partners with Rio Grande here in the United States, and Rio Grande is coming out with 2 of his games next month in December. So basically, you can probably see them in stores late December, early January. One is Free Ride USA. So that's set in the 1950s America. And this one, I could have sworn was, yeah, it's a follow-up to the Free Ride game from 2021, which is set in the Europe region during the 19th century. And then this is going to be in the U.S. in the 1950s. So with True Freedom on Freeze style, the game starts with an F and it comes in a green box. Big surprise.
Yeah, why is it always a green box?
What's that?
Why is it always a green box?
That's that's his thing. And I don't know if he still has it, but he usually had green hair whenever he was like at shows and stuff. So yeah, green and F's are his thing. Although it's Free Ride, not free with something else that comes for that ride word. But I'm sure probably the German version is all F's. And then there's going to be an expansion for Power Grid. This is a relatively small expansion. It's Bremen, Manhattan. So 2 new maps. And looks like it's got an MSRP of $15. Not bad, not bad.
Oh.
And what else you got?
Did you see the very last line there?
What?
Power Grid Outpost. Power Grid's going into outer space.
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be, in December?
Yeah.
So, cool.
Yeah, and that's going to be retailing for $75. Playtime of 45 to 90 minutes.
The Outpost?
Yep. Actually, it should be in stores already. So it was hitting stores in October 2024 per this.
Oh.
Per cool. This thing that I just saw.
All right.
Maybe it got delayed. Anyway, what else you got?
All right. So in Q4 of this year, which is currently, Ravensburger released Horrified Krampus, which is an expansion that you can use with either Horrified Greek Monsters or Horrified World of Monsters. But this has not rolled out without controversy, and they made a big boo-boo here. So what they said was through November 15th, which is that's tomorrow, Ravensburger's offering Krampus free to anyone who purchases either of the Horrified base games. Either of these, either the Greek Monsters or the World of Monsters. But, and then you'll get this, but what people have been asking is like, what if you've already purchased these? And it's like, oh no, this kind of came out as like, we're going to give this free one to people who buy the game like now, like, in the first 2 weeks of November or whatever. I don't know when it started. This article says through November 15th. But like if people already bought it, then they're not qualified to get this free expansion. It's only for like new people. So it's like Ravensburger's doing this as an incentive to get people to try Horrified for the first time, or to buy one of the games they haven't yet purchased. But for those people that already love the series and have everything, this isn't even an expansion. This expansion is not available in retail. You have to basically show a receipt that you bought this and get it through the company, and they're going to send it to you for free. So now it's kind of like, well, people that have bought from day one can't get this expansion, and only new people to this series or people who are buying the game now can get it. And so this is like, some people are like, oh, I'm going to have to buy a second copy just to get this free thing. So it's had a bad PR effect. It's not gone well for Ravensburger, and they are Last I heard, they are discussing how to try to resolve this. They recognize that they made a mistake. They're trying to learn from it. They are working on how to resolve this. So this might end up being something that they end up eating the cost altogether and just say, request your free copy and we'll send it to you. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's ouch. ouch, ouch, ouch. Bad PR.
It comes down to how bad do you want it?
Yeah, but it is bad PR for, because these games, the Greek game came out last year.
Greek Monsters.
And the World of Monsters came out in August of this year. So for them to kind of let this stuff go out in a couple of months, well, one was a year ago, and now they're saying if you buy this Greek Monsters now, we'll give you this free expansion. Well, people are like, what if I already bought Greek Monsters? Right? So the requirements are to buy the Greek Monsters or the World of Monsters. Both have already been in retail. But if you buy it right now they're going to give you this free thing.
Yep.
So fans of the games are going to buy these as soon as they come out. It's like a way of saying, again, the way it looks. And I got to be careful how I say this, because remember well, I went down this path once before with River Valley Glassworks, right? It has that, it kind of has that look that the company wasn't considering the fans of the franchise who buy everything and are going to want everything and already have these games because these games have been out to purchase. Now, prior to the holiday, you're going to throw an incentive out to bring in new people, or maybe to bring in those people that maybe haven't bought these yet. But you had to have known those people that bought everything are going to want this, and this isn't retail. It's not available for them to get, and that presents a big PR problem. So, I'm very curious to how they're going to remedy this, and we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll just realize, okay, we need to print more and put it in retail. I have no idea. Maybe they'll do that. So,
well, I mean, just looking at it from like a different perspective and playing with the devil's advocate or whatever. Okay, let's say you have some kind of packet inside a cereal box. So you get your box of, I don't know, cornflakes, and it's got, I don't know, some kind of toy in there. And you're like, well, I bought this box of cornflakes 6 months ago. I didn't get a toy. What, I have to buy another box of cornflakes to get this toy? Well, yeah, you do. And
good point. That's a valid, it is a marketing thing.
Yeah. So, but, I get it.
But you're not collecting cornflakes.
Well, maybe I am. I like my old stale cornflakes.
I think the thing with, the company did recognize they made a mistake, and they're, they are working on a solution. And again, I have nothing against Ravensburger, but I have one of their Horrified games. I like it. It was one of those that I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to buy them all, but I think they are good games. They are fun to play, and I can understand why people would be upset, because it's something free and you want it all. It's just, if Dice Throne did this, if Dice Throne's like, oh, if you buy the new Battle Chest 1, we'll give you something free that you can't get anywhere else. I'd be like, I already have that. I'd be freaking furious. I'd be really upset, because I'm a huge fan of that franchise. I want everything I can get my hands on. And in a way, this kind of hamstrung that. And I don't think it was intentional. Maybe they're like, oh, this will be good, because it was probably a marketing. Hey, let's do this. And it's Christmas coming up. Let's add the Krampus, a little mini expansion we can hand out for free to people that buy these games to drive up sales. And that's what it was. That's probably all it was. And no one was like, wait a minute. You probably didn't have anyone in that group that is a game gamer. It was probably just like the suit, but this is their job. And they're not thinking of it like a gamer. We're like, well, I want this. So we'll see. I'll keep, when I hear more, I'll report back. All right. And then the last one before we get into our topics, I need to preface this. This is not a political topic or discussion. Okay. This is the only reason I'm bringing this up is because there was an article on Polygon that could potentially impact gamers. And so I want to read this. And again, this is not a anti anybody. This has nothing to do with it. It's insert president here. And if they did this, this would be the impact to our beloved hobby. So the article was about with President-elect Donald Trump has promised that he's going to put tariffs on countries for products being sold in the U.S. Okay. And it seems as if there's some panic going on through the tabletop industry. There are concerns because a lot of our games, especially the stuff that we back on Kickstarters and crowdfunding or GameFound, whatnot, a lot of these are made and put together in China. So there's a lot of concerns about increases of 20% on all foreign goods, with targeted increases of 60 to 100% on goods imported from China. So with a lot of tabletop games, books, miniatures, and other things like dice, there's been a lot of concern about how is that going to impact games. They're already pretty expensive, especially, Rob and I know all too well. Every time we're like, I got notified of another game. I got it back.
Yep.
And
yep.
They want 100 and what? They want 200 and what? 300. Here, take my money. So there's concerns that this stuff could get a lot more expensive. So what do you think, Rob? Is there some, what are your thoughts on it?
No, I mean, I understand, everybody's concern. Until stuff happens, we don't know. And I don't know how helpful it is to just sit there and think of like what could happen, right? But, I think from stuff that I've seen, I guess it's an incentive to bring manufacturing here to the United States, because a lot of countries do have tariffs from stuff from other countries, and I get it. There's very many reasons for it. I don't think it's really meant to punish anybody, but there are reasons to do it. And we've had stuff in the past that has affected the hobby, like shipping. Like a couple years back, there was like a big jump in the cost of the post office and the cost of sending stuff across the ocean. And I don't know fully how much that affected things, but this is the first time that we've been affected by political or who knows what purposes, right? Tax, shipping, cost of gasoline, all that stuff, cost of raw materials, the cost of resin affects the plastic pieces, wood pulp or whatever can affect, paper and cardboard and stuff like that. I mean, this is the stuff that happens. And I don't know if it does go through like how they're talking, maybe the alternative is, it's not the end of the world, but maybe the alternative is, like the Ludofact factory that's in Indiana, maybe they scale up and companies start using them more. I mean, I don't know how busy they are, but, there are alternatives, and there's a lot of really great games that are not published in China either. They're published in Germany and, Poland, Czech Republic, who knows where else in Europe. But, do I want to see the cost of my games go up a certain amount? Not really, but I mean, they have been.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that the last, 2 years, 3 years, prices have been going up.
Exactly. And, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not to the point of where, it won't stop games. It absolutely won't stop games. But, you know, we'll need to see what happens before we fully freak out. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this article goes on. They talk about a board game developer. I'm not going to say names or anything, but
Yeah.
they cite in this article, the game, the person, saying how much money they raise and saying this is going to cost me. If this happens, it's going to cost me this much money, and I won't be able to sell games in the U.S. and I may not be able to make them at all. And I think that's just a lot of hyperbole. Even if a tariff comes, you don't know. Because in here, they're like, I want to be charged this much money. Well, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know if if your country's going to get hit with a tariff. It depends. And everything that this country said, look, yeah, well, that's going to take it more political, but it's not, I agree with you. It's not the end of the world. All sorts of things. You listed off a ton of stuff that has impacted the cost of board games. Everything has gone up in price. And, if those types of things come into play, then there are other things that, like you mentioned, maybe jobs will come back to the U.S. Maybe we have factories here, they'll get spun up. And if the cost, if taxes are going down and stuff like that, then maybe we can have companies can start employing people here instead of in other countries. Because I mean, the cost of shipping, we've seen that. I've seen that just when some of my Kickstarters, they were talking about, hey, we're going to have to charge more for shipping, and it's like, because we charged you 2 years ago and now they've gone up. Well, like, not my fault,
Right.
And
if you came out with the game sooner,
yeah, why?
Yeah.
And it's like, why am I paying retail and shipping? Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Yep.
But
I know.
So, it's not the end of the world. I don't think, you're going to have these people say it's not going to impact you. You're going to have these that are going to say it's going to be the death of the industry. It's always somewhere in between. It probably will be very minimal of change. We probably won't see much of an impact. If it's going to kick my $150 Kickstarter up by $5, I'm going to pay the $5, right? It's not the end of the world. It's not going to turn that $150 game into a $300 price for me. It's not going to do that.
No, I would think that $300 game would, if that's what its original price was going to be, the developers, the publisher, whatever, they're going to find alternate means, right? They're not necessarily going to go with, let's say like these massive miniatures. They'll do something else to reduce the cost, because I mean, that's what they're kind of doing now to some degree, right? They're looking at the components. They're trying to see what they can do within a certain price range, right? Because I mean, like, if there's a miniature, like you can have a 10-inch dragon miniature in a game, right?
Yep.
That, increases the cost of the game by $50. They decide if they want that or not. And if that miniature costs more, maybe they'll make it smaller, or they'll source it differently, or maybe it won't be a miniature. Maybe it'll be one of those cheap standees that fall over all the time. It just, they're manufacturers would pivot, and I'm not trying to do any kind of defending of these policies or anything like that. I'm just trying to think outside the box. It's kind of like they're not going to necessarily do the same thing that they'll do. They'll just change their process.
Yeah, they might start using AI art and everything.
That might be a good thing to talk about.
So
is that a segue?
If it's not, thank you. Yes, it was. If it's not tariffs destroying the board game industry, it's AI art. So in today's topic of AI, which if and anyone knows how our title relates to this, write us in or send us a message. I'd love to hear from you. AI art. So there's an article. One of them, there was a couple I saw this week. One of them where it's titled "It's Theft." Root artist Kyle Farron on the slop of AI art and why publishers using it are devaluing all of board games as an industry. So I think that's kind of interesting. I actually didn't make that connection between these two until we were talking. And you're like, they'll find other ways to cut costs. And I was like, oh yeah, get rid of the artists and use AI art, which is also ruining the industry, according to these articles. So I was curious about your thoughts on the use of this, because I got a couple articles here that I pulled up. So, so you've got the artist. Okay, so this is an artist, Kyle Farron, who did the art for Root, which I think is fantastic. It's really good. It's really good artwork. So he's talking about from an artist viewpoint, they're going to be taken out of work. They're concerned that AI is basically going to remove the artist, and then we're going to not really get the quality, the personalized art. It's just going to all be AI generated. And how good is that? You're probably going to have people on both sides. So there's that. And they're worried about artists and illustrators in this space. And then on the flip side, the other article, it says, it's titled Star Realms maker Wise Wizard Games defends using AI art in new projects, and board game artists call out ethics of decisions. So, I think it's interesting, as we're talking about earlier about tariffs and costs going up and companies having to find ways to cut, and a lot of companies now are starting to use AI art and AI and other things too. I think there was one about, I don't remember what the game was, but I think there was like an AI, they were using AI to generate a story for the game. And a lot of these games now, and I hate these games that have like an app, if I see an app, I won't even buy the game. I'm like, nope, because the app never gets supported long term. If you have to have the app to play the game, then I don't want the game. Now there's things like, what is the one I got? Dungeon Saga Origins. You can use an app to like read the story intros, and it's kind of cool, but that's fine. That's not required. I can just have this dude in his cool voice, read this stuff instead of me making it.
Talking about me?
No, not talking about you, Vin.
Oh, okay. Right.
But I don't. So you've got people again on both sides. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. It's probably somewhere again in the middle. It always comes down to somewhere in the middle. But I'm curious what you think on this particular thing, Rob, of AI art in board games.
Yeah, there's a couple of angles from this. I think a lot of it stems from like AI. Is it really AI? Not really, because one way to look at AI is it's a really fast Googler and it spits the results back to you. So the premise of stuff as it is today is basically AI does not create anything new. It just copies what's already out there and blends. Let's put it that way. Doesn't matter if it's art or if it's, if it's being asked for information or coding or whatever it is. It's not making anything really novel and new. And as part of that, people feed in information, and then that's what it's using for its basis. So technically, if you have art of some kind, like, let's say drawings of dragons, I'm just picking that arbitrarily, you would feed in pictures of dragons so it knows what a dragon looks like, and then you say, hey, draw me a dragon, and then it'll draw this thing, which is some kind of culmination of everything else that it's gotten from before, everything that was fed into it. So one thing that people are kind of not happy about is that they're saying that it's sort of like a form of theft, plagiarism, whatever you want to call it, because it's not really making anything new. It's taking somebody's work and then, modifying it to some degree and then saying, here's your image. Now, that is kind of an interesting rabbit hole that you can kind of go down with this, because eventually, and I think we're kind of there now, eventually it's going to have its own stuff as part of the pool. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so you fed it pictures of dragons and now it drew 300 dragons. So now its own dragons are part of that. So it's like diluted. And now, the dragons that it spits out are maybe more AI generated than they were people generated. So, that's one thing that a lot of people are, upset about, because it's like theft of somebody's intellectual property that they did. On the other side, AI is a tool where you can use it as a tool to give you a base and then you evolve it. So, for example, what's different between an AI generating a dragon and you using a picture editor and drawing a box on the screen? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you didn't draw that box. The program did it for you. Just one thing is really simple. It's like a simple geometric shape. And the other thing is not so simple. It's more complicated. Picture of a dragon. But, it's like you're leveraging a tool that's doing stuff for you. And I know that there are some artists out there that will use, and I think it's actually a skill, to generate images, which they then go on and improve upon. They might add things to it by hand, or I think it's also a skill to have AI generate stuff for you, because not everybody can do it. Like what do they call them? Prompts, I think, to like think up of like good prompts and have them be actionable and stuff like that. That in itself is a skill, and it's not super easy. Like, I've messed around with some of these apps and, I had like very garbagey results and, not too happy with them and so forth. So there is some skill to come up with some really good AI images. And there was something else I was going to mention as well. Like, well, what if, I know what it is now. Like, what if you have pictures of dogs? Okay. So like, Mark, you draw 20 pictures of dogs that you do yourself, right? And then you feed them into an AI, and then you have the AI generate some more pictures of dogs. That's technically your stuff, right? It's not stealing from anybody. It's using your stuff that you did and then just multiplying it. So now you have freak dogs, various mutts. There's so many angles to this. I said a lot. Here, let me let you talk for a little bit before I keep rambling for another half hour.
No, you're fine, because I honestly, I don't know really where I stand on it. I've seen AI in my own work starting to come in places of like just taking notes in a meeting. You're in a Zoom meeting and you can turn this tool on now and it'll spit out like meeting notes. And I've looked through them. I'm like, well, these are kind of, some of it's interesting. Like, I'm going to share this. So Rob and I were in a work call, And we were just, it was after hours. We were just going through some stuff. And I was like, hey, Rob, I'm going to turn this on. I want to see, I saw someone did this earlier and I just want to, so I turned that AI thing on just to record while we were talking and going through some work stuff. And at the very end of the call, Rob's like, what is it you said? Like action item mark to give you $100 or something.
Yeah, because they do meeting notes, summaries, and then action items usually.
Yeah. So he's trying to be funny. So I thought it was funny. He's like, action item mark to give Rob $100. Well, then when it spit out and I got the results, like the report or the meeting notes later on, a couple hours later, I was looking for that at the end. It said, and they joked about Mark owing Rob $100. And I was like, yes, it was smart enough to know it was a joke. So that I thought was impressive. It didn't just go action item, Mark, pay Rob $100.
Right.
So I thought that was impressive. That part was like really like, whoa, it's smart enough to know it was a joke. But going through the rest of the stuff, it's like there's stuff kind of all over the place. It's I know it's in its infancy, and it is impressive for what it is, at least for the meeting note portion. Okay. That's been my experience of AI. And now the other part that I'm going to have tonight after the show is done is using AI to edit this audio video. And and in my original testing, it's pretty neat. I'm going to see everything we've said is going to show up on the screen for me. And I can find, oh, here's where I messed up. I can highlight words and delete, and the AI will actually delete the video and the audio and put it all together. And just like that. I don't have to go and find it. I don't have to go cut here, delete this, drag this back over to it. It's just like, oh, here's where I said it. Cut this out and it's done, you know? So that's my experience with AI stuff so far. And even with the editing, there are some parts you still got to double check what it did. Because when I was doing my little test earlier, I was like, da, 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 da. Okay, then I find it in the script. I cut it out. And it cuts it, but in the video, it might have left a little bit of the last da on there. So I have to look at the time, the waveform or whatever in that timeline and trim it out a little bit more. But it took out 99% of the work effort, which was nice. When it comes to art, I'm really torn. And as I was reading this article about what this artist said, I kind of feel like at one part he almost proved the point of the companies saying why they're using it, because it's almost like, and I get it, he's an artist, so he's probably feeling attacked, I get that. Like if AI is going to take over my job, then I'm going to be pretty PO'd because I'm out of work, right? But when he starts to talk about, let's see, where did he state this? He was talking about, here. He said, so they asked him the question, what would you say to a publisher who, for whatever reasons, say they can't create and publish the game they want without leaning on AI-generated images? He says, I'd say don't make it. Don't make it. I'm not going to shed a single tear for somebody who says, if you're running a restaurant and then they raise minimum wage and you say, but we can't afford to be in business if we can't exploit teenagers. Well, kinds of sounds like you don't have a viable business plan. Sorry about that. That sounds like you have a problem. I'm like so just with his statement, I'm just like, okay, I see where you're at. You're coming at it from a very emotional standpoint, which I can understand. But at the same time, you're like, I'm sorry, fast food places. I'm sure. Well, I don't think you did, but you still worked. I know where you were first working, and I'm sure you weren't making tons of money. I started in the fast food industry. I wasn't making a lot of money. I never felt exploited. I was going to high school I was my last 2 years of high school. I was also working at a fast food joint across the street, and I got to make money. I got to save up. It wasn't a career. I'm not in that now. That is not an exploitative business. And when you're in, and even in the food industry, you know, they're to okay, so this is going to get all political, but I want to just make my point that he's saying, well, you're exploiting people. No, they're not. If they're paying minimum wage, they're doing what's the law. They're paying what the law says you have to pay. And then they go up, and we just went through this here out in the Seattle area a couple of years ago. They put minimum wage up to $15 an hour and said it was going to solve everything. Nobody was taking the jobs. They were like, oh, we need this. And then they do it, and then no one wants it. Now we're up to $17, $18 an hour. Just in a matter of a couple of years, it's gone up a couple of bucks. It's like, this just, you know, if you're running a fast food business and you now have to pay your employees all this much more, and the cost of food has skyrocketed, it's not just that the minimum wage is raised, it's everything. The cost of business of doing everything has gone so high that it's not feasible for you to be in business. And that's not necessarily that you have a bad business plan. And it's not that you're exploiting people. They're trying to make the money. So his example, let me put it this way. I could say, well, I'd say don't hire the artist. I'm not going to shed a single tear for someone who says, you know what? Oh, wait, am I reading that right? Yeah, if you're running a board game company and the artist demands money, but you say I can't afford to be in business anymore, so I'm going to use AI art to cut the costs, does that mean they don't have a viable business plan? No, they're allowed, so they could either go out of business because they can't afford it, or they can cut costs where they can. And some companies will see AI as a potential cost savings to allow all these other people to keep a job and stay hired. Or you got to pay the artist. You don't use AI. You can't cut costs anywhere. So you just fold, and now everyone's out of work. Which is the better option? So, you know, I kind of like using his own words against him. He could be that exploitive teenager, so to speak, in his own example. So is he saying, okay, don't use AI, otherwise you're a terrible company, but if they don't do it, then they can't afford to stay it, so everyone's fired because he doesn't want to stop getting a paycheck. Now, again, I get it. I understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, it's a bigger picture, and it's not all about one person. So, and I'm not trying to hate on this guy. He does some great work. He also did the art for Oath and for Arcs.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, I'm just like, I might be getting a little emotional. I have nothing against this guy. It's just because I can see it from both sides.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And I feel for the individual, but I also feel like the company, if it's not going to impact the board game and they can keep their company alive by finding ways to cut costs, which every company does, mine's doing it, then isn't that better overall for everybody? The consumer still gets a good product. And I'll say this. As much as the art looks nice in Root, it wasn't the art that makes me want to play the game again. I got to be honest. It's the game.
Right.
The gameplay, the design of the game, the way it plays had nothing to do with the artwork. But that's me. There are a lot of people that really are drawn to art. So I'm not against, and you and I have a shared friend who is an artist, Mr. Camacho.
Yep.
You know, that's his bread and butter. You know, he's not to my knowledge, he's not in the board game industry. He wasn't the last time I talked to him, but he does art and he's very talented. So when I was thinking about this earlier too, I'm like, how do I feel about my friend being impacted? You know, I don't want him to go out of work because of AI.
Right.
And I think that would really suck. I don't want anyone to be out of work.
Right.
But and I hope that the company Wise Wizards, the other article, I wanted to read. I didn't get a chance to come up with this one, what they were saying about it.
Yeah, so they had a game which kickstarted and they used AI art
Right.
in it and made like all these like unique cards. And, you know, in their particular, I guess, situation, they had 321, I believe. It's like over 300 individual pieces of art, which they generated. So, you know, time savings, affordability, you know, whichever way you want to look at it. You know, they're using it as a tool to generate a particular project and bring it to life.
Right. And yeah, there's that line. Yeah, they would have had 17 pieces of art compared to the 321 they were able to get in that time frame. You know, they're probably not all bad.
Yeah.
um,
Or how do you feel? I'm kind of taking off on a little tangent here. How do you feel about certain like publishers or organizations just outright like blocking the use of AI, saying like, you know, if you use AI, we will not publish you, we will not sell you, you know, whatever the situation is. Like,
I'm against that.
Yeah.
Totally against it. You know, and that try not to be political.
No.
But we live here in the US, we are, quote, in a free society, right? We're supposed to have freedoms to choose. This is a tool. If a company wants to use the tool, then they shouldn't be penalized by a publisher or distributor or whatever saying, nope, we're not going to let you sell this through us. I mean, fine, then go find someone else. Someone will publish it for you. And, you know, maybe that's what needs to happen. So if someone doesn't want to publish it, then you take your business elsewhere and it becomes this huge success and this other company lost all its money and they see that. And they're like, oh, I guess we should have done it. You know, because that's what it comes down to. It always comes down to the money. That's all it really is. So when a company is saying, well, we're not going to publish this, and they put out these big PR things, and it's just garbage coming out of their mouth. It's trying to make us look, we care about the environment, when really all they care about is how much money is in the account. How much money are they making? That's it. And that's really what everyone needs to be concerned with, because that keeps jobs. The more money you have, the more board games you can make, the more people you can hire. You know, that's so these companies, no matter how much they talk about what they care about the gamer, they care about the world, they care about the environment, they care about the climate, they only care about the bottom line, because if they don't make money, they're out of jobs, period. That's all it is. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. They're a company. They're in it to make money. It's just like with us on our previous show. Sometimes we get emotionally wrapped into it, and it's like, oh, my platform's better than your platform. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. Is your platform making money? Can they continue to exist? Can they continue to expand? That's what matters.
Yeah.
So
going to the next level with this question, for the companies that do permit it, do you think it's required or it's advisable that they have notices this game contains AI art or AI music or AI whatever? Does it matter?
To me, no.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, and I probably could be a real outlier because, and I think I'm probably an outlier on that because I'm newer to the board game world. And I know we talked recently about it's nice to see artists getting recognition, like at Barnes and Noble, I think it was.
Yeah.
That on their website they're
listing. It was
designers.
Designers were.
Oh, the designers. Okay.
Yeah.
So so we're not even recognizing the artists at the moment. We're finally recognizing the designers. And I think you can't recognize everybody. That's why there's credits, at the end of a movie. That's why the book, usually at the back of the book, you probably have the credits of everyone that worked on the game. That's just, you can't put everybody's name on the box, right? So, but the games are being sold based on the gameplay, in my opinion. I look for something that's a fun gameplay or a neat theme. The art really has very little impact on me about whether I like the game or not. I have played stuff that I thought looked ugly and it was a fun game. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. I got to buy this.
Right.
I've seen stuff that's like amazing looking and I'm like, I'm bored, or this is a terrible game, or so.
It's all glam, little substance.
Yeah. Music, it's a board game, so it's not won't be music, and unless it has a digital app or something.
Hey,
or dice throwing coming to digital.
Yeah, there's some games with music. Not very many, but they're there.
Well, okay,
but no, I know what you're saying though. No, absolutely. And
it's just I'm not gonna, when I'm buying a game, I never look at the artist. I never look if it, like, AI means nothing to me in the game. It's going to be maybe the publisher. First of all, it was the publisher. Oh, I like games from this company. And now I'm starting to, I like games by this designer. So I think that's really all that matters. And is what's the gameplay? How many players? We talked about this, I think, on our last show about what attracts us to buying a game. Art's just, and I think I said it there too, art's just not that important to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's some games I think it does look great. I think Dice Throne, like, their art is amazing. Like, the stuff that they do, I think it looks great. I love it. But it wasn't that drew me to the game originally. Like, it's so. People should be able to use AI if they need to. I also think someone who might be like you or me, I got a friend here. His kid wanted to make a board game. So him and his son made a game. And he like printed all these little components. He made a board. I've play tested it. I asked him a while back, like, hey, are you going to crowdfund this? And he's like, I don't know, because he doesn't really know what to do next. And it's not where he would want it to be. He's a dad with his kid. He has a full-time job. He has a large family. He could make use of AI to assist him to get out the game, like on a crowdfunding, and get it out into hands of people. And it's a fun game. He would benefit big time from AI. Maybe a company like a larger company, like a Roxley or a Ravensburger or AEG or something like that. Maybe you don't use AI because you've got the people, you've got the talent. Let's use the talent. But if things are getting so expensive and you've got to try to balance the books, how do you do that?
Right.
You still got to have those designers. You got to have the big name designers, right? That's kind of like an actor or an actress in a movie. You got to pay them the big bucks, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it works the same in board games, but I would imagine the designers, and you always hear certain names a lot, that to me kind of makes me think of like actors in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
So if you got to cut costs, maybe they can find other ways to do it. I'd be all for that. But then does that mean cheaper quality components?
Could.
Going back to the way it used to be in the day? and we're still paying that price. Do we want to pay a high price for a board game and get crap components? No. I don't want people to lose their job either, but
yeah.
I'd rather one or two than an entire company shut down.
Like, people look at this topic and they would really like it to be cut and dry, right? It's like,
it's not
very simple. It's multifaceted, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of positives, a lot of negatives. The people that are in the industry of, making art and such, they might be affected from it, but it could also make their workflow easier. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it. And, AI is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just going to evolve and probably get into all aspects of our society. And, we can either go down screaming or we can embrace it or ignore it for as long as we can. one of those, or maybe even a combination.
Well, I think for Kyle, he's not going to be out of work. Kyle is too talented. And I think he's going to have plenty of work available for him in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see AI as, for smaller companies or individuals, it's a great tool for them to use to try to break into the business. And I do think that if a company uses AI art and it is really bad, it could impact their sales. I mean, if that's all they're generating, it's all AI, you can tell it could impact their sales, and maybe it's not going to do so well because people are like, ooh, this looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like you said, it's always in the middle. It's not black. It's not white. It is in the middle.
Yeah. And always complicated.
Yes.
More so than ever.
Yeah.
Anyway. I think
that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about real quick, or should we take it out? I don't even know how long this show was.
If I'm right, we've been an hour and a half right now.
Yeah.
So if my button is correct, yeah, we're an hour and a half in. So I think this was great for our first video podcast.
Yeah.
So I just noticed I got a blinking light up I just noticed it's up in the front. That's the recording. In our little windows,
top
I see
left.
It blinking
Yeah.
the top left. I didn't notice that till just now because I was always looking down at everything.
You're very observant.
Whatever.
Now you can see me rolling my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good time to quit, and I've got some AI to play with for editing.
Yeah.
And fixing, and I got to figure out, I got to move some cabling so I can plug my my mic receiver in so it can. I was looking a little bit ago, I was looking through the guide, the startup guide, and it's like, oh yeah, I do need to plug it in. But again, you plug it into the computer. I was assuming that it was getting power from the USB-C, but it looks like it doesn't power it.
Yeah, apparently it's got a data port and a power port.
Yep. There you go. So
yeah, I found that out with my new Anchor speakerphone that I use, where I couldn't get it to turn on. I'm like, it's plugged in.
Yeah.
Why isn't it working? Oh yeah. Look at that.
Now I feel bad. I sent that other one back and I gave him a 1-star review. And I saw someone else had the same review. They're like, the thing stopped receiving after a few times. Oh, I guess we need to plug it in and charge it up.
Well, blame them for having
that it's charging.
Blame them for having a poor instruction manual.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this one's the same way. It doesn't. There's no words. It's just all pictures.
Yeah.
It's just all like.
Oh, one of those. The international one.
Yeah. Quick start guide. All right. Anyways, I had a great time.
Okay. Likewise.
Hope everyone else did. Let us know what you guys think of the video podcast. And if you're listening to us on audio, you can continue to do it. You're not missing anything on screen. It's just Rob and I talking. So, but feel free to, again, please subscribe and like the YouTube channel, and leave comments and like the videos and let us know. And you in comment there if you want to see something. Just throw a comment up there. Hey, do a walkthrough, or this if you have this game. I mean, Rob and I don't get these from publishers. This is our personal library that we have, so keep that in mind. We will obviously, as my new Kickstarters come in, I'm going to be like, boom, here's what I got.
Yeah.
I'll jump all over those. But that's why right now you're getting some older stuff. But you see what's behind me? That's a recent Kickstarter that came in, and that's going to be my next unboxing, going through all the Deep Rock Galactic upgrades from the latest Kickstarter that just came in. So I'm going to do that next. And but probably that should be up by this weekend. All right. That's all I got, Rob.
Awesome. Okay, so that's it for episode number 85. Yeah, 85. We'll catch you all in 2 weeks.
All right. I'm Mark, and we'll see you all later. Thanks for watching.